Roots of the Soul. A story of love, loss, and redemption. In a small seaside town where the waves whispered ancient lullabies to the cliffs, stood an old whitewashed house. Its garden overflowed with bougainvillea and olive trees, spreading a fragrance of time and memory. Inside that house lived Elena, a woman whose life had weathered storms, but whose eyes still carried a quiet light. The house had seen everything: love, laughter, tears, and farewells. It had heard the first cries of Elena's daughter Sophia, the soft songs of her husband Antonio, and the gentle prayers whispered in moments of despair. After Antonio's death, Elena was left alone in the large house. Yet she stayed, watering the plants every morning, talking to the trees as if they were her children. Sometimes, she would sit by the window, watching the sea change colors: gray at dawn, gold by noon, and red by dusk, thinking, maybe our souls are like the sea, they keep coming back to the same shore. Her daughter Sophia had moved to the city long ago. Life there was faster, brighter, noisier, a different rhythm entirely. Elena rarely visited, and Sophia rarely came home. But there was one bond that still tied the city and the sea together: Sophia's daughter, Clara. Every summer, Clara would visit her grandmother. She loved the smell of the ocean, the sound of old clocks, and the way the garden shimmered in the afternoon light. Elena would braid her hair, tell her stories about her youth, and say, "Never forget, my dear, a house with roots is not just a building. It's a soul." Clara would nod, half understanding, half lost in dreams. Years passed like leaves falling one by one. Elena grew older, Sophia busier, and the world faster. But the house remained, standing quietly like an old tree whose roots ran deep. Time slipped away like sand between fingers. Elena's hair had turned completely white. Her steps were slow, her voice soft, but her heart still glowed with gentleness. Meanwhile, Sophia and her husband Ricardo thrived in the city, surrounded by luxury, parties, and ambition. They seemed successful, but beneath the glitter there was a cold emptiness. Clara grew into a graceful, intelligent young woman. She decided to study law. Elena helped her as much as she could, even though she lived on a modest pension. When it came time to pay Clara's university fees, Elena sold her most precious possession: an old golden brooch with a delicate cameo engraving passed down from her great-grandmother. When Clara left for the city, Elena cupped her face in her wrinkled hands and said, "Remember, my child, wherever you go, don't forget your roots. This land, this home, they are part of who you are." Clara promised, eyes shining, "Grandma, I'll never forget. I'll come back." But time is the quietest thief. Years later, Clara returned as a successful young lawyer, but not as the same girl who had left. Elena welcomed her at the station, heart filled with joy, hands trembling with warmth. But when Clara stepped out of the car, Elena felt something strange. Clara's clothes, her tone, her eyes, all carried a new light. A cold light. One that reflected ambition, not love. One afternoon, while walking through the garden, Clara said, "Grandma, isn't this house too big for you now? It must be hard to maintain it." Elena looked at her quietly. Clara continued, "Mom and Dad were thinking, this land is worth a lot now. If we rebuild it, maybe make apartments, it could be a great investment." Elena's face went pale. "Clara, this is our home. Your mother grew up here. You did too. How can you even think of selling it?" Clara gave a nervous laugh. "Grandma, times have changed. It's just property. We'll get you a comfortable flat in the city, maybe a nice senior center. You'll be well cared for there." The words senior center cut through the air like a knife. Elena couldn't breathe. This was the same girl she had sung to, prayed for, and held in her arms. And now she was suggesting to send her away. From that day, the house grew silent. The air was heavy with unspoken tension. And the warmth that once lived there slowly turned cold. Months later, Sophia herself came down from the city. Her tone was soft, but her words were firm. "Mom, please don't be stubborn. We're doing this for your own good. You deserve comfort. Let us take care of things." Elena looked at her daughter, her son-in-law, her granddaughter, and saw not love, but calculation. The sea breeze no longer carried music. Even the gardens seemed to wilt. In the air, there was the faint, bitter scent of greed. That evening, the sunset bled across the sky, orange, gold, and violet blending like memories. But inside Elena's home, a cold shadow had fallen. Clara stood by the door, her voice calm, her words sharp. "Grandma, we've made a decision. Legally, the house is now under Mom's name. The documents were prepared months ago. You're no longer the owner." Elena froze. The room, the air, even time seemed to stop. Clara kept speaking. "We don't want this to become a legal issue. It's best if you leave within a week. Otherwise, we'll have to proceed with an eviction." Eviction. That word sucked all the air out of the room. Elena could hear the echo of her heartbeat. This was the same room where she had told Clara her first bedtime story, where Sophia had taken her first steps, where Antonio had once placed a rose in her hair. And now, in the same room, she was being told she didn't belong. "These are the hands that raised you," she whispered, trembling. "These are the eyes that taught you how to dream. And today, you call me a stranger." Sophia turned away. Ricardo sighed. Clara said nothing. Elena went to the shelf, picked up Antonio's old photograph, and murmured, "You're lucky, Antonio. You didn't have to see this day. The day when blood turns to stone." Then she turned to Clara and said softly, "There is no flesh left in you, only marble." And she walked away. The ticking clock filled the silence, as if even time felt ashamed. Elena didn't fight back. She didn't scream or plead. She simply wrapped her dignity around herself and left. She packed her few belongings. Not clothes, but memories. An old Bible, a few photographs, and Clara's childhood picture where she was smiling toward the sky. She touched the olive tree one last time, the bougainvillea leaves brushing her fingers, and whispered, "Goodbye, my friends. Perhaps I won't return, but I'll never forget you." The wind seemed to sigh in reply. She moved to a small rented room in a nearby village, a dim, quiet space with a single bed and a tired window. Her days grew mechanical. Morning tea, silent noon, tearful nights. The neighbors pitied her. Some brought soup, some asked kindly about her health. She smiled faintly, a smile with nothing left behind it. At night she dreamed of the house, the jasmine scent, the sea breeze, Clara's laughter, and woke up to a wet pillow. Meanwhile, the old house changed beyond recognition. Clara and Sophia began the renovation. The garden was uprooted. Olive trees, roses, and walnut trees were cut down. A swimming pool replaced the earth that had once fed roots. The grand rooms were divided into small apartments, and a board went up: Seaview Studios for rent. The old furniture, books, and photographs were sold or thrown away. The table where Antonio had once served tea now lay in a junkyard. At night, music and laughter echoed through the building. Guests danced, glasses clinked, and far away, the sea wind mourned silently. The neighbors shook their heads. That house is dead now. Without a soul, a house is just walls. And they were right. The house that once breathed with life was now nothing but a hollow shell. Elena marked the passing days, but the seasons no longer mattered. Inside her, there was only one weather, the gray of memory and loss. Yet, deep within, a small spark still glowed, fragile but alive. She didn't know it yet, but that spark would soon turn into a new flame. Years passed quietly. Elena grew frail, her hair silver, her hands thin, but her eyes still carried a warmth untouched by time. One morning, there was a knock at the door. A young woman stood outside, eyes trembling, voice uncertain. It was Clara. Her confident look was gone, replaced by guilt and humility. "Grandma." Her voice cracked. Elena looked at her for a long moment, then quietly opened the door. "Come in. You still remember the way, don't you?" Clara stepped inside, tears brimming. "Grandma, I came to apologize. I was blinded by greed. I sold the house, our soul, for money. But when I saw its walls crumble, I realized it was my own heart breaking." Elena remained silent. Clara knelt before her, holding her hands. I want to buy the land back. I'll plant trees again. I'll rebuild the garden. I'll make you a small house there, where everything can live again." Elena smiled faintly. "A home isn't made of bricks, my dear. It's made of hearts that care. If remorse truly lives in yours, then the home has already returned." Clara wept, her tears falling like cleansing rain. Months later, workers tilled the old land again. Clara planted a new bougainvillea sapling with her own hands. Elena smiled and said, "This is your test. Care for it as you would your own soul. If it takes root, you'll know you've found yours again." Time passed. The plant grew. And so did Clara, stronger, humbler, wiser. She was no longer just a lawyer. She had become a guardian of the land, of memory, of her grandmother's legacy. Years later, Elena sat once more in the garden. The olive trees swayed in the sea breeze. Clara brought her tea and said softly, "Grandma, look, the garden has come alive again." Elena gazed at the sky and whispered, "Yes, my dear. Some things never die. They just sleep beneath the soil, waiting for love to wake them." And from far away, a bird sang in the wind, as if to say, "The home has returned." The lesson: greed blinds, but love, even if late, always finds its way back. A house is built with walls, but a home is built with hearts. Thanks for watching my video.